It's time to talk everything X-Men in the world of comics this week. I've already talked about the new Exterminator series, but we've got another series coming out starring Wolverine, well, co-starring Wolverine, and we've also got 2 issues to talk about. X-Men number 10 and this debut of X-Men 92, which is really strange comic. Let's just put that one out there. Now, with us, as always, is the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado himself. Doc, how you doing, buddy?
No, stop it, X-Office. Just stop it.
Well, isn't a great week in X-Men? We got this big announcement. It's not just Wolverine, but Ms. Marvel's going to be teaming up with Moon Knight and Venom. Obviously, Wolverine's going to be the first big one. I don't know why they're trying to make Ms. Marvel like an edgy character and teaming her up with these more anti-hero type characters, but they're doing it. It feels to me like they're devaluing Wolverine every time they do this. They continuously put him with these teenage, like goody two-shoes characters, and he gets upstaged. I don't get the plan or the... It feels like Wolverine's too important for this type of role.
This is a long recurring Tumblr joke that made its way into the editorial office of Wolverine and teenage girl sidekicks. It's a long running one, and it's really fucking tiring. Plus the fact that they want to try to, dear God, try to make Ms. Marvel cool somehow.
Well, they've been trying for a very long time. Obviously, when they introduced her, they made her kind of, not really the sidekick, but certainly associated with Carol Danvers, the new Captain Marvel. That didn't really pan out. They tried to make Spider-Man her sidekick. That didn't work. Perhaps they're just not really selling the characters correctly, and they shouldn't be saddling these other established characters that are doing good and defining them down by having them play second fiddle to a character like Ms. Marvel.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, they've been trying to make her cool somehow for what, a decade now? They gave her the Avengers, they gave her Champions, they gave her everything. Now they're going the route of 1990s publishing, where it was, hey, all you need to do is put a guest appearance by Wolverine, the Punisher, Ghost Rider, or Spider-Man on your new character in order to make it work. Except for they were doing that in the first like 20 issues of a comic, not a decade into her existence.
Yeah, I don't see this working out. And what a waste of Wolverine. The character is not going to be treated very well. And there's going to be no interest in this. I think this is stupid, but it is, the normal operating procedure for Marvel Comics.
I don't understand what their goal here is, other than try to make her cool by any means necessary, because it's flopped to this point.
You can't make a character cool by proxy. You actually have to show them doing something special, and they've never done that with Ms. Marvel. I feel bad for Wolverine, but hey, that's what happens when you're Wolverine. They're going to waste you on other characters. Now let's get into these X-Men comics. This was not a very good week in X-Men. In fact, I wouldn't recommend either of these comic books. Let's get into X-Men number 10. Gerry Duggan, Javier Pina. Forge has made this rifle, and you can take a picture of Phobos, and they realize there's a mutant on Phobos, and they're like, well, it's probably the remains of Nightcrawler. He's like some type of trophy or something. They're like, and Wolverine left enough adamantium up there that, you never know. He's probably got a skeleton up there. They're like showing it off in their museum or something. X-23 is like, no, there's a real mutant there with adamantium. It might be one of my little sisters. I need to go up there. Which is interesting enough. It's not the worst setup ever. Yeah. And then she finds Lady Deathstrike. They have a small battle, and you see that she's sick, and she brings her back.
Deathstrike is not a mutant. She's not.
Well, apparently Orcus has these portals now, too, even though they don't have the Krakoan plant technology.
Yeah,
they're just making shit up left and right.
None of this is explained ever. I mean, like the first 2 pages of this comic are Gerry Duggan trying to retcon his own fuck up from that issue with Polaris, where she was marionetting a passed out X-23, because X-23 doesn't have an adamantium skeleton. She only has the claws and in her hands and feet. So he's having to retcon that in the first page of this issue. Then instead of actually doing something with that, like, oh, hey, look, Wolverine, she's suddenly like 300 pounds heavier. How is she going to adjust to this? She's not going to be anywhere near as acrobatic. Nope. She's just able to like do fucking flying spin kicks and hang in the ceiling while her and be a super spy infiltrator of this Orcus station on Phobos. Even though suddenly she weighs 250 pounds, 300 pounds more because of all the adamantium that she's never had to deal with before.
They should have made her short and squatty like the real Wolverine.
Well,
and then X-23 would have been, even better carbon copy, but female.
Nope. Her whole body density has changed, but she's still able to do the exact same things.
Back to this Lady Deathstrike thing. So it feels like they're doing something with the character. They're obviously introducing her, bringing her back to Krakoa for something, but apparently that's not the case. She wakes up and she's like, I'm leaving, and that's the story.
Yeah. She just, like, they bring her back, and then they stick her in the healing gardens, even though she's talking about how the adamantium is killing her. They don't actually do anything. They just give her some, I don't know, fucking flower magic medicine. And then she just gets up and leaves, and Rogue's like, all right, bye.
Like, I understand if you want to have a character come in and do a cameo, but it felt like there was moving towards something, because without that, there's no real comic book here, other than, I guess, the last reveal where Rogue needs to get to Game World again because of something to do with Gambit or whatever, and they get a clue from Destiny, so now they're going to team up with Rocket Raccoon, who's on Game World,
and we're back to the whole like Rocket's friends with everybody thing instead of just being like this weird. Fucking hate modern Marvel. Apparently, everybody hangs out with Rocket Raccoon now. Rogue knows him, Gambit knows him. They all hang out.
Dapper
together.
Gambling machine on Game World with Cordyceps Jones.
Yeah, exactly. None of this makes fucking sense.
It was a huge waste of time. The art wasn't terrible, but it wasn't particularly good. But like I said, the big thing that happens in there is resolved, and it means nothing.
Yeah,
it's essentially to it. There's a little bit of a retcon that you mentioned.
At the end, we get one of these stupid data pages, but this time it's M infiltrating the Orcus technology communication system to approach Fei Long and Dr. Stasis. And it's very obviously Moira. That's what we get. Nobody cares about robot Moira. We just want her to have her powers back, get killed, and reset all this bullshit.
Well, you don't need that because there's apparently 50 clones out there, according to Kieran Gillen. Now let's get into this other comic book that also wasn't very good. This one was really strange. X-Men 92, House of 92, Steve Foxe, Salva Espida. The art in here is actually pretty good for what they were trying to do, but I am so confused about what this comic book actually is, Doc. It's supposed to be like an X-Men 92 cartoon series, so it's got nostalgia is the key to the comic book, but they're just replaying the stories from the Krakoan era, but with the 92 cast and artwork.
Yeah, that's really what it is. It's like it's simultaneously lampooning both the Krakoan era and the X-Men 92 like animated era. I don't understand what the goal of this comic is. It's almost a what if the Krakoan era happened in the Jim Lee era.
Yeah, and there's a new 5 and there's new members of the team, but they go up there and they're fighting the Master Mold or whatever and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sitting there going like, are they retelling the stuff from House of X Powers of 10, but with the 92 cartoon? Because I imagine people reading the 92 cartoon series are looking for stuff from the 92 cartoon stuff, and people that want to read this stuff are reading the modern stuff. Why would you combine the two?
Yeah,
so no one would like it?
Yeah, I again, we're back to my theory of that X office having a goal of reaching actual zero sales. Let's see if we could turn absolutely everyone off. I mean, we're already doing it with Hellfire Gala because the Venn diagram of people that want to see the Met Gala and superhero comics is pretty goddamn small. And the Venn diagram on this one is probably actually smaller. I don't know who they're trying to appeal to because, yes, that's all they did. They just took all of the plot of House of X, Powers of X, and stuck it onto X-Men 92 stuff. They remixed and only used the characters that were available to the X-Men 92 like cartooniverse. So we end up with Jubilee taking the place of Moira, this whole new 5, and apparently the big catalyzing effect in order for them to go to Krakoa back then was the death of Jubilee, because apparently even the villains got behind not killing Jubilee, even though they spent all their time trying to kill Jubilee themselves. Apparently Sentinels killing her is the thing that catalyzes the entire mutant race.
The art looked perfectly fine. I just don't know what the purpose of the comic book. I certainly don't recommend it, but this feels like another example of a variant cover scheme that probably would have worked. You know, take the 92 animated series and make variant covers of House of X inspired stuff in the Krakoan era, and it probably would have been interesting. But somehow they decided to develop it into an actual comic book rather than realizing it's just a cover.
Would have worked perfectly to just give the readers, to spark their imagination of what this would have been like. But when you actually put it on paper, it actually makes it so very much worse and a lot more stupid.
It's completely stupid because I've already read the story. Why do I want to read it again with other characters? If I want to read X-Men 92, I want to see X-Men 92, like the animated series. It's bonkers. I don't know where they came up with this. I imagine it must have been a Jordan White thing. Well, certainly he would have approved it, but just a weird weekend X-Men all along. We got all those stupid Hellfire Gala cover reveals. We saw Dr. Doom looking like a hedge or something like that. And then we got the news on Exterminators, Miss Marvel, Wolverine. X-Men number 10 is essentially worthless. Like, there's stuff that happens in there, but it means nothing to whatever is actually happening. It wasn't fun either, and that was a big waste of time. And then X-Men 92, okay, I don't recommend any of this stuff. Just stay away from X-Men.
Honestly, Nimrod is right, and I want the that whole island thrown into space like it happened at the end of Giant Sized X-Men again.
One of the reasons X-Men just isn't connecting with an audience right now is because the creators think that they're better than us. They think that they know more than us and that we don't really know what we want in comic books. You can see from the comments from Leah Williams and others in this video here, they think they're above us. They're not writing stories for customers. They're only writing for themselves, and that's why it's failing so hard right now.